Whew! Dirt road believers, it is hot out here. We are at the end of July. I don't know where the summer is gone, but I have been in a hot building helping paint, and so I thought, well, I'm hot anyway, so it feels good to sit down, to hydrate, and to be with you guys. I was looking back at a journal that I keep on this channel, and this date a year ago, we had 118 subscribers. Now we have 395, so I'm so encouraged by that this ministry is reaching people. And so I ask today that you like, share with a friend, and tell someone to subscribe to Dirt Road Believer and become a part of this community. I always love getting your comments and your feedback on the devotions. We are continuing, I believe this is part 6 of God's Not. And the video that you're going to see today kind of goes along with our devotion, because today's devotion is God's not doing background checks, but colleges are. I'm so glad I went to college like a million years ago, because when I went to college, you didn't have to have a resume. Like, my resume would have said a few babysitting jobs and a couple of piano recitals, you know, nothing major. Grades weren't much to speak of. SAT really wasn't much to speak of, but it wasn't that competitive back then. So my oldest son is beginning to look at colleges. He kind of knows what direction he wants to go in. And so that's what today's video is. But colleges are doing lots of background checks. They want experience, they want leadership, they want grades, the whole 9 yards. So it's an interesting time to be getting into colleges. But luckily, God is not doing background checks. So I'm excited about that devotion today. Hey guys, I hope you enjoy today's video, us visiting some colleges, and I'll meet you back right here in the sweltering Georgia heat for today's devotion. See ya. For all you gun enthusiasts, this is in the VMI Museum. We're ending our tour here at VMI.
Mom stole an umbrella from Walmart.
And I think Crawford has been a good sport about pictures so far. Good job. But I have one more I want.
She's
so
holding me hostage.
We're saying goodbye. Bye VMI. Now we're on to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech. And it is huge. We parked in a big parking deck and then we had no idea where to go from there. So where do you stop if you need to go to the bathroom, get directions, and maybe have a coffee? In that order, Starbucks. The friendliest young lady, Anna, helped us figure out where the heck we were. So here we are, Lane Hall. We've got a few more minutes before we go on this tour with the cadet program. But anyway, I want to show you this Virginia Tech logo on the quad. It's so big, I don't know if you can see it, but it's really cool. It seems like Virginia Tech has about 30,000 students. It seems like within those 30,000 students there is a military college, because this is one of the senior military colleges in our nation. I'm sorry if this disappoints any people from Georgia that are fans of the university, but go Hokies! Wow. We are loving this place. It's amazing. Look at how beautiful.
The architecture here is amazing.
And everyone is so nice and helpful. We just had a meeting with the lady in the Army office, and she was so helpful. You think you might could be a Hokie?
I'd accept the Growlies more of a mascot than the Hokies.
Oh yeah, so the cadets, they have their own mascot called Growly that goes everywhere with them. It's their dog. And what's funny is one of Crawford's best friends has a dog named Growly. So when they told us about Growly, we were like, oh, Growly actually lives in their cadet quarters with them. We're trying to find the bookstore at the moment.
It's a very big campus.
It is big.
I don't know where I'm going.
But if you get lost, where do you go?
Or you sit in one spot and ask for help. That's what I
No,
was
you go to
taught.
Starbucks.
Right, you go to Starbucks. They know everything.
This is the very first student who made his way to Virginia Tech, back before it was Virginia Tech.
Old bucket hat with a walking
He
stick.
traveled 26 miles on foot to get here. He and his brother were going to come together, and his brother got waylaid in the local bar here in Blacksburg.
It was short.
His name is William Addison Caldwell.
Oh, really?
So every year the cadets, they hike half of that distance, that pilgrimage, in the fall, and then in the spring they hike the other part. Look at all these buses.
They have an accordion bus.
Beautiful day. Let's go Hokies.
Very purple.
I bet the Hokie birds will kick some tail.
I'm not a big bird person. I don't really like birds. I'm happy.
Crawford and I had so much fun. I love any time I get to be with just one child, and I also just love stepping on college campuses and getting the feel and talking to people. So we had a great time. But today's devotion, God's not running background checks. We are going to be continuing our study in Judges. So we'll be in Judges chapter 11, if you'd like to go ahead and turn there. And it's sort of a rags to riches story today. We're going to meet one of the judges of Israel. And he is a very unlikely judge, as you've probably noticed in a lot of the judges that we've studied. His name is Jephthah. And I just want to tell you this saying that I heard, and I don't even remember where I heard it from, but it goes like this: worship opens doors that a resume never can. I don't care what kind of background you have, what kind of education, what kind of experience level, skill. When it comes to serving the Lord, He is going to plug you in however He wants to plug you in. Qualified, unqualified, He will qualify you. And so our service to the Lord and our worship and our spiritual lives, that cannot compare to any resume. So let's get into God's not running background checks. We're in chapter 11 with Jephthah. I'm going to start in verse 1. It says, Jephthah the Gileadite was a valiant warrior, but he was the son of a prostitute, and Gilead was his father. Gilead's wife bore him sons, and when they grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You will have no inheritance in our father's family, because you are the son of another woman, a prostitute." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Then some worthless men joined Jephthah and went on raids with him. So here we have this guy who is a naturally gifted warrior, but that's not allowed to really take root in where he is, because his father had him with a prostitute, and so his brothers and the town have just driven him out. So he's met up with these other outcasts, and they're going on raids together. Now sometime later, the Ammonites fought against Israel. When the Ammonites made war with Israel, the elders of Gilead went to Jephthah from the land of Tob. "Come, be our commander, and let's fight the Ammonites." Jephthah replied to the elders of Gilead, "Didn't you hate me and drive me out of my father's family? Why then have you come to me now that you're in trouble?" Isn't this what every person who is ever ousted wishes for? You just picture that day that they're going to come back to you and be like, "Oh, we need you, we need you." So they answered him, "That's true, but now we turn to you. Come with us, fight the Ammonites." They needed him. He was a great warrior. "Become the leader of all the inhabitants of Gilead." So now the very place he has been outcast from is asking him, "Come back," but not just come back and be a leader among us. So Jephthah said to them, "If you are bringing me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me, I will be your leader." The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "The Lord is our witness. If we don't do as you say." So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead. The people made him their leader and commander, and Jephthah repeated all his terms in the presence of the Lord at Mizpah. All right, so that gets us through verse 11. Why did the author feel the need to go into Jephthah was the son of a prostitute? He was outcast. Because as this story unfolds, we see that a person's background does not determine their usefulness to God. Your background, your past does not determine your destiny when it comes to God. I mean, let's think about some people here. Moses, orphan/murderer. Rahab, prostitute. Mary Magdalene, possessed by demons. David, adulterer. Matthew, swindler. Paul, Christian hater. Peter, hothead. And James, the brother of Jesus, didn't even believe that his brother was the Son of God until after his death, and then he became the leader of the early church. So so many people throughout the Bible, and people still today, show us that your background does not determine your destiny. We don't need to be squeaky clean. We don't need to have the most polished reputation. We don't even have to be liked by others. God can still use us. All right, so in 12 verses 12 through 28, we're not going to read this. Here we get a bit of history where Jephthah is setting the record straight. There's been some back and forth and the Ammonites being misleading. So here he is just telling the truth. Like, let's tell history the way it really happened before we can go on. And so he's truthful. He gets in there, and then here's where I want to pick up, because I love when the Bible says this: the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah. So he traveled through Gilead and Manasseh and through Mizpah of Gilead. He crossed over to the Ammonites from Mizpah of Gilead. Okay, this is where Jephthah falls victim to probably something you've done before. You have God's assurance. You're moving forward with it, and just as a safety precaution, just one, more insurance policy on the deal, you make a deal with God. And here was his deal. Jephthah made this vow to the Lord: in fact, if you do what you've already said you'll do, if you hand the Ammonites over to me, whoever comes out of the door of my house to greet me when I return safely from the Ammonites will belong to the Lord, and I will offer that person as a burnt offering. This is part of the story that we kind of get wrong sometimes, and I want to set right with everybody. But who is he expecting to come out? Probably a servant. But we know, if you're familiar with this story, that's not who comes out. All right, so Jephthah crossed over to the Ammonites to fight against them, and the Lord handed them over to him. He defeated 20 of their cities, and a great slaughter from Aurora, all the way to the entrance of Minnith and to Abel Keramim. So Ammonites were subdued before the Israelites. Okay, so everything that God says is going to happen happens. He completely defeats the Ammonites, and now he's on his way back home, safe and sound. When Jephthah went to his home in Mizpah, there was his daughter coming out to meet him with tambourines and dancing. She was his only child. He had no other son or daughter besides her. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, "No, not my daughter." He remembers the vow he made to God. "You have devastated me. You have brought great misery on me. I have given my word to the Lord, and I cannot take it back." Now, when he says you've brought great misery on me, he's talking to his daughter, because remember, he said that he would offer whoever came out first as a sacrifice. And then, just to show how this girl has been raised in a godly home, she says, "My father, you've given your word to the Lord. Do not do to me what you've said to him, for the Lord has brought vengeance on your enemies, the Ammonites." She also said to her father, "Let me do this one thing." Okay, so when we hear sacrifice, we think like, bloody sacrifice. That is not the sacrifice that occurs here in Judges 11, because human sacrifice was not okay with God. That was not practiced among the Israelites. It was thought of as an abomination. They would have never done it. So sacrificing his daughter meant that he was going to give her over to the temple to be used as, they didn't have nuns back then, but someone who worshiped and prayed day and night within the temple. So they wouldn't have the same access to each other as they did. And here's one other verse that confirms that is the case, because she said to her father in verse 37, "Let me do this one thing. Let me wander 2 months through the mountains with my friends and mourn my virginity." because you could only go into the church in this position as a young lady if you were a virgin and pure. And, you know, she had probably always dreamed of, you know, being married and being a mom. And so this couple of months was to let her go and be with her friends and mourn that part of her life that she wouldn't get back. So Jephthah, the valiant warrior, who grew up not very well liked by his family. When his father finally passed away, he was an outcast by his brothers. He had no part in his family's inheritance. And God looked upon that man, and he didn't see orphan, he didn't see outcast, he didn't see you know, someone who was probably pretty messed up by those events in his life. He saw someone that he could use for a job. So guys, I want to encourage you today, and I want you to hear this. Let's stop looking back at, well, we haven't built a good enough resume. Our background is not squeaky clean. Maybe you've been to jail. Maybe you have been divorced. Maybe you've been through lots of rocky relationships. Maybe you know, you don't have the best relationship now with your children or your parents. Guys, hear me when I say your background does not determine your destiny. Worship opens doors that a resume never can. And so God is not looking at what you've accomplished. He's looking at what He can accomplish through your willingness and your obedience. I don't know about you, that gets me pretty excited. That gets me pretty excited. Guys, as I said, you are part of a growing community of believers. We call ourselves Dirt Road Believers, and we get together twice a week and just spend time in the Word. It's always great to be with you guys. I love being in the Word with you. Join us every Tuesday and Thursday here on Dirt Road Believer for time in the Word. Don't forget to like, share, and let's get 5 more subscribers before July's out. That would be awesome. I will celebrate. All right, guys. I hope you have a great day. So until next time, slow down. Take the dirt road, believer.